Hello everyone, my name is Jehan Gonsalkorale and I'm a product manager here on Jira Service Management Cloud. I'm here to talk to you about 3 ways you, a Jira Service Management admin, can turn your stakeholders into fellow admins of Jira Service Management and still sleep at night knowing that they're doing the right things the right way. But what if you're not the admin? Well, maybe you're one of the stakeholders and this is an invitation for you to consider stepping up into the very exotic and exciting world of Jira Service Management administration. Okay, I may have been slightly overselling it, but I promise you it's very cool. Let's kick things off with a challenge. Can you spot the Jira Service Management admin here? First of all, we have Dwight Johnson, the venerable head of IT. Then we have Gillian Jacob, a marketing manager. Then Sandra Bullock, the best data scientist in the realm. And Chris Hemsless, the CFO. Well, I'm going to argue that literally any of these people could configure and update a Jira Service Management service desk. And I will convince you that this applies not just to these 4 people, but to literally anyone in your organization. And for you Jira admins in the room that are doing all the heavy lifting in your organization, I've got a challenge. Let's see how you can be the enabler and not the admin. Let's look at an example. So Dan is an admin who is struggling to manage his workload. He's become a bit of a bottleneck when it comes to making changes to any of the service desk on his instance. And this, of course, is a problem. So he's got people pushing him to make changes left, right, and center. And try as he might, he can't get any of his other work done. So he's not winning over his stakeholders and he's definitely not winning over his boss. Now, someone asked him why he didn't just make his stakeholders administer Jira themselves. And to be honest, he almost burst out laughing because this could be a very dangerous move. Sharing Jira admin rights is dangerous. You can get people creating too many custom fields, which can slow down your instance. You can get people fossicking around the guts of Jira and breaking things without even realizing it. And you can end up with a lot of mess. So rest assured, I'm not here to tell you to just hand over the keys of your Jira instance and just assume everything's going to go to plan. Instead, I'm going to give you 3 ways you can turn your stakeholders into admins and still keep these risks top of mind. The first solution is to create a seed project. The second is to make them Jira admins. And the third is to create a team-managed project. These are 3 ways that vary in terms of how much freedom you give your team. Let's start with a seed project. Before I get into the detail of what a seed project is and how to create one, let's first clarify when you should use them. You should use them when standardization matters and when you can't trust people to just follow your guidelines. It's also good when they're less interested in learning about how the tool works and developing that skill set. If they're just trying to get it working and looking to minimize the time investment, this is a very good option. So the bottom line is that the seed project is awesome when you're worried about consistency and configuration bloat. The seed project is simple. Think about one project that sprouts many other projects. The way it works is that all the Jira stuff of the Jira Service Desk project, the screens, the schemes, the issue types, these are all shared with the seed project. So yes, I'm talking about creating a project with shared configuration. How do you do it? Let me show you. The first thing is you create a company managed service desk. I highly recommend the General Service Management for Business Teams template because it's lightweight and you can easily configure it to meet your needs. So let's just name the project and select our team type, and we are good to go. So we're in the project. As you can see, we've got some request types, we've got some issue types. They're created for us out of the box. That's good. The first thing we're going to do is modify the screen scheme so all of our request types map to the same screen. This will make sure that the project admins you assign to this service desk project will always have access to the same fields, regardless of the request type they are configuring. So we just have to navigate to the global issues section and update our issue type screen scheme. So all the issue types we map request types to are mapped to the same screen. This takes a few steps and honestly can be a little bit of a pain. I can understand if you don't quite want to do this. Fortunately, I'm very happy to announce that we'll soon be releasing a new service desk template that's even less opinionated than the general template. We're working on it right now, and we will definitely be getting out before the end of this calendar year. So, what do we do after this? Let's add all the fields we need to the screen. Now, you can do this the old-fashioned way, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely not the best experience. There is an easier way. Just navigate to your request types and drag and drop all the fields you want to just any single one of them. Under the covers, what we're doing is we're going to be updating that screen and adding all the fields that you select. As all request types, including any future request types, will always be built on the same screen, they will always have all these fields available. And that means that your project admin will get access to every single one of these fields. So you can now create a few request types as examples for your project admins to get a little bit of inspiration from. And these will be copied to any projects you create from the seed project. When you create a project with shared configuration, all those existing request types will be copied. You can also configure workflows and assign them to the issue types that you want them to use, so they have a little bit of choice in terms of ways of working. Okay, let's jump in and create a service desk using this seed project. So you go through, click any template, it doesn't really matter. And at the end, at the last step, make sure you click the option to share configuration or share settings with an existing project, and then select the seed project. Now, as you can see, this project has all the request types from your original seed project, and your project admin can go nuts. Now, they can't break anything in your instance because they only have the right to administer this project and can't modify anything global. But you have given them all the fields and workflows they need, so they're off to a flying start. That said, if they need any additional fields, they can obviously leverage something like Proforma forms and create their own form scoped fields, use conditional sections and all the advantages that Proforma forms have to offer. And if they need additional modifications to workflows, they can obviously go back to you. So, some pro tips. Here's how you set your team up for success. First of all, as I demonstrated before, make sure you have only one screen for all your request types. That will keep things nice and simple. This will make sure that they get access to the same fields across the entire project. Secondly, make sure you give them all the fields and workflows that they need. Configure what they need up front so they can then pick and mix and decide what it is that they want to actually leverage. But last of all, don't try and solve all the things. You won't be able to give them every possible thing they could ever ask for. They will be coming back to you every now and again with the requests, and that's okay. Try and get them 80% of the way there, and then provide support ongoing as needed. But what we've done here is really created quite a strict and controlled environment. What if you want to give them more freedom? Well, one solution is to simply make them Jira admins. But as Boromir would say, one does not simply let anyone become a Jira admin. So there's a little bit more nuance to it than that. But first of all, when should you do this? When autonomy is more important than standardization. Standardization is still important, but if you're willing to trade off some of that in favor of giving away greater autonomy, then this is a great approach. Do this when you trust your team to do the right thing. If you have strong relationships and trust that they will do the right thing, then this is a great option. So let's do this, shall we? For this, you will absolutely want to use one of the templates. Our templates do not share any configuration by default. So this means that it's very difficult for them to make changes to one project or the configuration in one project and have those changes impact other service desk projects or Jira projects across your instance. So select one of our templates and then give them admin rights by simply adding them to the administrators group. As you can see, there are a number of request types available out of the box. They can use these if they want. They can also rework them. They can also delete them and create new ones. It's entirely up to them. You'll notice that you don't have all the request types mapped to the same screen. But that's not an issue because as they have Jira admin rights, they have access to any field in the instance from the request type configuration, and they can bypass screens altogether. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But they can also change the workflow or issue type of an existing request type. This means that they can select any workflow on the project and map it to an existing request type. All you have to do is select Replace Workflow in the drop-down here, and voila. But I'm very excited to announce that soon we'll enable you with this very same flow to map any workflow on your instance to your project. We will handle all the schemes and issue types and stuff under the hood for you, while still letting you know what we're doing, because no one likes a black box. But the bottom line is we'll make sure that you can select workflows from other projects or workflows that are inactive and map them to this project. So you'll notice that so far in the flow, we've remained within the project and we haven't navigated to global areas where you're creating new custom fields, workflows, schemes, screens, etc. And I would encourage you to encourage your Jira admins to do the same. You don't want them to have their curiosity get the better of them and have them suddenly start modifying screens and schemes and making a mess of things. But what if they want to create a custom field? If you want them creating new custom fields, make sure they first look for fields on your instance. Quite often the field might exist, and the last thing you want is them creating duplicate fields. That will create problems for reporting, automation, JQL, as all of you very well know. But if they need a new custom field, and they've had a look around and found that nothing exists, well then it makes perfect sense for them to create one. The good news is, it's actually very easy. Get them to click through any request type, and then to click Create New Custom Field. Then just get them to create the new custom field in the tab that opens up. I'll just go back to the project, refresh the page, and the field is there. I don't think most people would struggle with that, but what do you think? So let's go through some pro tips so you can set your fledgling Jira admins up for success. First of all, use a project template. Our project templates, by default, do not really share any configuration with other projects, which means that if they modify things that are scoped to that project, those changes will not cascade across to other service desks and impact other teams. So this provides an element of guardrails. Next, hold a training session. Teach them how to set up a service desk and do it by themselves. And be aware that they will need to come back to you to get more help ongoing. Last of all, set guidelines. Make sure they're very clear on what they can and can't do and where they should and should not be navigating to. Let them know what happens if they suddenly rename a status or if they decide to change the issue type scheme of a project. But what if they want more freedom? Even more freedom than that? Well, the last option is to give them a team-managed project. Team-managed projects are ideal when you want them to be as empowered as possible, but make sure that they don't do anything that impacts other projects. This is great when they really want to get things done themselves and run their own service desk. It's also great when they are less technical, as team-managed projects are just simply easier to use and set up. So the bottom line is you should set up a team-managed project when ease of use and autonomy are the two most important things for that team. So let's just get right into it. Go to create a new project and select team managed. We are enabling team managed projects for Jira Service Management as we speak. But if you don't have access, simply go to product settings and click on configuration. And if you navigate down to the bottom, you'll have an option to toggle them on for your instance. And keep in mind that if this is something that you don't want anyone using, you can simply turn them off. No stress. So select whichever template you want and then create the service desk. With the request types, you can see a similar but different experience. You can see that there's simply one tab for your request type for both the issue view and the intake form experience. And you can see that you can just create custom fields by clicking up on the top right. Drag and drop the field type, and you can create it on the fly as you go. Let's create a radio button field. And we're done. Very easy. But what if you want to use fields from your company managed project? Don't worry, we got you. We're in the process of rolling out company managed fields for team managed service desk projects. This means you'll be able to use any of the custom fields that you've created globally. This will be coming out in the next couple of months, so keep a lookout for it. And yes, that does include asset fields. Well, what about workflows? In team managed projects, every request type has its own workflow. And you click through to that workflow and you can edit it within the project itself using the new workflow editor. So it's a very nice and clean experience. But we've also got a new feature that I'm very excited to announce. Customer-facing transitions are now available in team-managed service desk projects. Click on any transition and you can just click here to make it available to your end users. But what if you have multiple request types that need to use the same workflow? Well, you can't do exactly that, but you pretty much can. You can copy workflows to other request types, and when you edit a workflow, you can decide which other request types get that workflow. So it's kind of neat. It's very similar to sharing, but just copying. Now, I'm going to be very upfront and honest and say that team-managed workflows do not have all the features of company-managed workflows. But we do have a lot. You can still add rules, and these cover many of the use cases covered by validators, post functions, and conditions. And it may seem that team-managed projects don't have portal groups, but they actually do. If you navigate to the portal, you can create portal groups and assign request types to them. And if you're worried about your help center getting cluttered with lots and lots of team-managed projects, there's no need to worry. You can always hide service desks, whether team-managed or company-managed, from the help center homepage. It's that easy. So, to recap, team-managed projects have some awesome new features that make them incredibly easy to use and provide autonomy for your teams. We are enabling company-managed custom fields and asset fields, and we've also enabled customer transitions as well as the ability to copy workflows across request types. So this is giving you more and more power. These new features are bridging the gap between company-managed and team-managed projects. So I'd strongly encourage you to check them out and tell us what you think. If you leave feedback in the product, it'll go straight to me, and I will read it, I promise. Most importantly, team-managed projects can unblock project admins and let them get up and running without needing any of your help. And your admins will be able to create their own service desks without impacting any other service desk on the instance. So, how do you set them up for success? Team-managed projects are very easy to set up, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to walk them through the basics to make sure they don't get started on the wrong foot. Once you've given them a walkthrough, encourage them to be independent and give it a go on their own. Let them create their own service desk first. Just make sure it's not visible on the Help Center homepage and that's only available to you and them. So last of all, check in before they go live. They may not have any experience in launching a successful service desk and won't know all the key steps to go through, all the different things to troubleshoot, test, how to train the team, how to manage the change and let people know where to look for help. That's where your expertise comes in. So make sure you're around for them and provide the guidance they need. So let's recap. I have given you 3 options for turning your stakeholders into Jira admins. You can create a seed project, you can make them Jira admins, or you can let them create a team-managed project. Each of these provides more and more autonomy, moving more and more away from consistency and standards. So there's a trade-off, and it's up to you to decide which makes the most sense for you. But all of them are viable options, and I encourage you to explore them. The option you choose depends on you, your organization, and your stakeholders. I'm sorry, did I say stakeholders? What I meant to say was admins. Thank you very much.